This video will show the drawing stage for the Surrealist color wheel project. I will demonstrate how to create the fundamental design and plan for where your colors will go. There will be lots of opportunity for you to customize your piece. You want to establish your composition in pencil, including both your color wheel and background Surrealist designs prior to painting. Okay everyone, I'm going to go over the drawing portion for the Surrealist color wheel project. So we're going to begin by laying out our composition just in pencil. We'll erase the pencil marks that we don't need, and then we'll end up painting out this entire piece. So first what you want to do, you want to make sure on your watercolor paper that you're on the textured sides. There's going to be a side that feels very smooth. That's not the side you want to paint on. You want to paint on or draw on the side that has a little bit of texture. And if you take your paper and look at it, you'll be able to see that. If you're just painting it with it still in your pad, it should be the texture side that's up. So that's one thing you want to start and check with. We're going to be making these Surrealist color wheels into mandalas as well. So you want to grab a few round items that you can end up tracing. That way you're not having to try to draw a perfect circle just on your own. Instead, you can trace that circle and create your designs within that circle. So mandalas are designs that have radial symmetry. So it's going to have repeating patterns that go all around the radius of this circle. So we're going to be talking about that as a compositional concept within this project as well. Outside of the mandala and this color wheel, you can also put in some interesting surrealist imagery throughout your paper. So let's begin. I'm going to start by kind of, as always, mapping in my third lines for myself, just because it really helps me to place things thoughtfully within my composition. Okay, and you want to be drawing lightly. You don't want to be really pressing into the paper. We aren't going to keep these pencil lines, so you want to be able to erase them later, so draw lightly. I'm using my 2B, so it's more visible on the video, but you could even use your H or 2B, definitely not your 6B, which is super bold. Okay, so getting those third lines in here. Now I could just put my mandala right in the middle, but I think I'd actually rather align it with a third line, so maybe over here or over here, and then I can also have some interesting things happening in the background that are also connecting with these third lines. And I'm going to do that with kind of a surrealist Dada technique, automatic drawing. So I'm going to do some squiggles, look at those squiggles, see what comes to mind. It's a very in the moment kind of thing. So first, let's just kind of place where the color wheel is going to be. So I'm going to have this larger circle. I'm going to align it with this third line, maybe that third line too. Okay, so tracing that circle. And even within this project, I'm starting with the big general stuff, placing the large things, like where my color wheel is going to be in my mandala, and then I'll be placing the major sort of gesture of what the background elements are going to be, and then I can start to get into detail. Okay, I want this other circle within here too, and I just want to do my best to kind of align it within, center it within this other large circle. Okay, I think that should be good. If it's not totally perfect, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up too much. You just want to try your best and spend time on your artwork. Okay, that's fairly centered. All right, so I'll be adding lots of designs and layers within here, but here's kind of the general placement of my mandala. And maybe I'll also have some type of, I don't know, to do kind of suns and flames, so maybe I want to map those in generally as well. And again, lightly. In these initial layers, you want to be testing out different things that you're placing within your composition. And you want to be able to try something, and if you don't like it, you can easily get rid of it. Okay, so I'm liking all of that. Now, and let's see, also the center of this is going to be about right here. So I want to keep that in mind because I'm going to have these different parts of the color wheel, the various parts of the colors, going into that center. Okay, so now I'm just going to give myself a squiggle that kind of goes through these different third lines. So something like this, going through that third line, going through here. Maybe wrapping back around. Still staying aware of the edges of my composition and avoiding tangents. So I'm very aware on this side too with my mandala. I don't want it squeezed up right against the side. You want to give it a little bit of breathing room. We can even have parts of this just going off the page as well. So I'm going to maybe bring that down and loop it back up. Maybe bring it back over here. Maybe even have part of this design could be filling in this whole corner. Okay. All right, so maybe have this line come back down here too, so it's making this whole big loop. All right, I'm liking these general parts of my composition. Now I want to map in exactly where my colors are going to go for my color wheel. So I'm going to show you how to do this. I think you should repeat this same type of strategy in your color wheel. We're just going to map in the general areas first for where these different parts of the color wheel are going to go. And then you can completely customize their shape, but you want to start with this basic structure. So first we're going to begin with the primaries, okay? And again, all of these are going to go kind of like pizza slices into the center. So I'm going to do one of these primaries going up this way. It's essentially going to be, we're going to be splitting up this circle into one primary, two, so another slice right there, okay, and then our third primary color. I'm trying to get these fairly even, so there we go. Okay, let me just clean this up a little bit, go in with my kneaded eraser. Okay, also still gonna bring maybe this one out a little bit more and then clean up some of these lines. Okay, that is pretty good. So now what I'm gonna do, and you won't end up keeping what I'm about to draw, you're just going to use it as a reference for where these colors go. Before you paint in, you'll erase out these letters. So I'm just gonna give myself letters for what colors are going to go here. So we can do yellow up here. Okay, we can do red right here. Yellow, red, and blue. those are our primary colors. These are colors that cannot be mixed with any other combination of colors. You just have to have that tube of paint in order to have these colors. Okay, so that's why they're called the primaries. Now we're going to divide these other little slices into what will be our secondary and our intermediate colors. So I'm going to add a triangle, another slice in the middle of this. Okay. I'm going to add another slice in the middle of this. And add another slice in the middle of this. Okay, so now these middle slices are going to be our secondary colors, and these other slices will be our intermediate or tertiary colors. Let's start with our secondaries. This is quite easy. So if you add red and yellow together, that is going to give you orange. So orange will be right there. If you add red and blue together, that is going to give you purple or violet. Okay, you might see violet in some color wheels instead of purple, but they're the same color essentially. Okay, if you add blue and yellow together, that is going to give you green. Okay, now the intermediates, also quite simple. If you add red and orange together, that's going to give you red-orange. If you add orange and yellow together, that's going to give you yellow-orange. So those are intermediates, these kind of gradients of color, okay? Now, if you add red and purple together, that's going to give you red-violet. You could also call it red-purple. I'm going to put red-violet. And if you add purple and blue together, it's going to give you blue-violet, or you could call it blue-purple, but we're going to call it blue-violet here. Totally up to you. Putting down these letters is completely just giving you a marker for where you're going to be painting in these colors. So before you go and paint in these slices, you're going to erase out that letter. Okay, now between blue and green, blue-green, right? And then between green and yellow, yellow-green. So now we have established where all of our colors are going to go. And now, if you want to change the shape of these little shapes, you are welcome to do that. So rather than just having these straight lines, you could make it squiggly, right? Make these have a kind of wavy form to them. Okay, so you could customize things like that. I also typically like to kind of extend the primaries up a bit to kind of accentuate them and their importance within the color wheel. So that's another option for you. At this point you have the basic structure down, and now you can begin to customize it as you wish. Okay, and I'm also going to, you could put something in the middle as well. So I'm going to end up putting in an eye in here. So I really enjoy drawing eyes. So I'm going to draw in this kind of football shape. And again, you don't have to draw an eye in here. You can customize this as you want to. You could draw something else in the center, or you don't have to draw anything in the center. You could keep that original framing of these colors all drawing into that middle point. Okay. What's important is just that you do have these colors relating to each other correctly. So between the red and yellow, you have these different oranges. Between the yellow and blue, you have these different greens. And between the red and blue, you have these different purples or violets. You could even have your primaries in a different orientation, but you need to have the correct relationship of colors. Okay, so and if you do want to draw an eye with me, just do that pretty quickly And in just a moment, I'm going to switch over to a time lapse as I start to fill in the rest of my designs here. Okay, so football shape, you want to get that little kind of tear duct shape at the side. Okay, I'm going to have the iris looking off over here. Okay, getting in that pupil, maybe a little highlight. Alright, and then you could also be doing some eyelashes. The eyelashes on the upper eyelid are very close to the eye, but if you look at the lower eyelid, there's actually a little bit more of a kind of a space in there. Okay, and then within here, I could also maybe have some type of design going on. So, got that generally placed. All right, now I'm going to switch to a time lapse. I'm going to start adding in lots of elements in here. Within this squiggly line, I'm going to start doing some kind of automatic drawing, looking at this squiggle, seeing what I could transform it into. So that's kind of an in-the-moment kind of decision. If you do your own squiggle, it's really all about what you're seeing in it and how you can transform it with your imagination. All right.
I transformed my squiggle into an eye shape with flowing water forms surrounding it. I made the color wheel into a mandala sun, contrasting watery forms with fire. Add patterns into your own color wheel, transforming it into an interesting mandala. Create your own squiggle that leads the eye around. What do you see in your own lines?
Okay, now I'm at a point where I like my drawing and I'm almost ready to paint. I just want to make sure I get rid of any pencil lines that I don't need. So I'm just going to leave the outlines where I want them, so I know where to paint in certain things. So for example, those third lines, I don't want those as part of my final composition. Those were just guides for where I want to place things. So you want to go in and clean up your drawing, erasing out anything that you don't need. You'll leave your letters until you're ready to, say, paint in where the yellow is. Then right before you paint in the yellow, you just erase out that letter and paint that in. So take a moment and clean up your drawing. Take out any little sketching lines or guidelines that you no longer need. Only keep the outlines and shapes that you want to be a part of your final composition. Here's my finished drawing. I've cleaned up any extra lines that I no longer needed, that I don't want to be part of my final composition. Essentially, you just want that outline for your composition that tells you where you need to be painting. So you can see I've cleaned up those lines. So now in the subsequent videos for this project, you can see how to mix out all of your different colors, so your secondary colors and your intermediate colors. I'll show you a strategic approach for that. And then I'll also do a video showing you how to begin painting and using our gouache as our painting medium. All right.